Good morning, students. So in this session, we are going to begin with Unit 1.5. In the initial classes, we finished talking about evolution. And evolution, I finished mostly the theories of evolution and synthetic theory of evolution, correct? But I have not covered the biological and cultural factors in human evolution. So 1.4a is also covered as part of 1.5 because we have to compare various features of primates. In the process, we would learn how humans are different from the other apes. Basically, those that actually walk on 4 feet, we call them quadrupedals. Like if you see chimpanzees, bonobos, and etc. Compared to us, we actually walk on 2 feet. So we're bipedals. So some of these factors have changed the evolutionary aspect of us. Correct? So as we discuss these features, as we compare these features, it will become clear to us about the factors that helped evolve humans into who we are today. Okay, so if you see the syllabus of Unit 1.5, let me show that to you. Sharing the screen with you. Okay. So in 1.5, we are going to cover the various aspects related to the primates, like evolutionary trend and primate taxonomy that we are going to talk about. Okay, how are primates classified? A bit of factual data of how are we connected to primates. Okay, briefly, we're going to go through the primate taxonomy and adaptations in primates. So we have to learn what are primates, how are they classified, okay, and what adaptations are changes that you see in them in evolution, especially with respect to arboreal and terrestrial adaptations. Okay, so for land survival and also for surviving on the trees. So arboreal means surviving on the trees and terrestrial means on the ground. Also, in addition to that, of course, we anyway are talking about primate taxonomy here, that is covered here. Primate taxonomy is covered, and behavior. So taxonomy of primates, adaptations of primates, behavior of primates. Okay, we are going to cover these. Along with that, I'm also going to briefly talk to you about, because anyway, we'll discuss about primates. So comparative anatomy of man and apes. How are we different? Because these are the type of questions that are coming in the exam. Comparison between man and apes. This question is common in the exam. So we need to know certain features that are different and similar between apes and us. Plus, in addition to that, we are going to talk about skeletal changes due to erect posture and its implications. We are going to talk about what changes have happened in our skeletal system, okay, because of erect posture, because of standing upright. And what are the implications? This is nothing but biological factors. So we're going to talk about this as part of biological and biological factors, plus some cultural factors. What promoted this type of development in humans to where we are today? So that is the overall idea. Plus, towards the end, I'm going to deal with tertiary and quaternary fossil primates. Okay, in the classification itself, we will learn about living major primates. What are living today? What are not living today? We'll see that what we see today and which of them are kind of extincted. And in the last, I'm going to discuss tertiary and quaternary fossil primates, because if you learn about tertiary and quaternary primates are nothing but what is given in the 1.6. So that will be a good segue to go to 1.6. So this is how I'm going to deal with. Now you know that what we are expecting from 1.5. So I'm going to briefly tell you what are primates and how are they classified, what are the various features of the primates. And once we learn the various features of primates, we'll compare the differences between humans and them. humans and apes mainly. Okay. Plus, we'll look into the various changes that have happened in evolution to bring us to this shape that we have today and this capability that we have today. Okay, right. So some terminology may be a bit complex here and there, but don't worry, you get used to it. And the second one is get the overall picture of what we are learning. And also we'll put this into the context of the exam. In the exam, taxonomy is not being asked. What they're mostly focusing on, comparison between man and apes and primate behavior and factors leading to the evolution of humans. Okay, those are the things that we have to focus on. So don't worry about by hearting excuse me, terms, yeah, but know the picture, have the picture about the classification, how they are categorized and how they are related to humans. And I've collected some data on this to match the exam related questions so that you know what to write for those questions as well. Okay, right. So let's start with what are primates and how are they classified? So do you recognize what primates are? So what do you understand by primates? What comes under primates? What is your understanding about that?
Chimpanzees.
The apes like
monkeys. Monkeys would not come.
They do. They also come under apes. They don't come under apes, but they're all primates. Starting from a very small versions of monkey-like creatures to humans, all of them come under primates. Okay, they don't come under apes. Apes are more like humans. We are more connected to apes than the other primates. So primates is because in biological sense, we categorize. If you see how Carolus Linnaeus had done, what do? They categorize all the existing organisms in based on similarities. They put them together. Like for example, we have seen like protozoans. Protozoans are tiny creatures which are eukaryotic in nature. So they have some specialized structures in them, like yeast we know of, right? Malarial agent, plasmodium that we know of. They are different from bacteria. They're not put together along with prokaryotes like bacteria because bacteria is a very, very simple organism. Understand it. This picture is very important for you to add links. So here, this information I'm providing is not for the sake of exam, but for you to follow what I'm teaching. Okay, so all living organisms are classified based on their similarities. We recognize bacteria being different from yeast, although both of them are microorganisms to us. But if you carefully observe, bacteria has some features which are very primitive. They don't have, they don't have certain organelles. They don't actually have membrane-bound organelles. Okay, so we talked about this in the cell, correct? Yeast actually a bit more specialized than bacteria. Although single cell, yeast has membrane-bound organelles. Like that, based on the differences and similarities, if they are similar, they put together. So various different bacterial strains are put together. Various different protozoans like Euglena, Paramecium are put together. Like that, if you went further on, looking into more complexly evolved organisms like plants, animals, etc. Plants are separately put together. Animals are put into another category. Within animals, we do see quite a bit of a difference. We look around, we see cats, we see horses, we see goats, we see monkeys, we see humans. Definitely, there is some similarities to them, but they are different. So we classify them further into various specific orders. Okay, I don't think you need to by heart this, but if you ever remember from your basic classes, we start with something called kingdom. Like humans come under the kingdom of animals. Humans come under the kingdom of animals. If you want, I'll briefly make a note of this. So if you see the human classification, and we'll put that into the order of what we are learning. So you notice that normally we have hierarchy of how we categorize. Hierarchy of how we categorize. Like for example, the biggest of everything, like animal kingdom, plant kingdom that we talk. Correct? We are talking about humans being animals. So we come under animal kingdom. We come under animal kingdom. Correct? We know it very well. And then we have something called phylum. So next category is phylum. Phylum, humans come under chordata. Chordata. So what are these animals? Those animals which have backbone. Those with backbone come under chordata. So within animals, we actually have some of them which carry specific structure to support the back structure of it. So backbone we normally call, spinal cord we normally call. This is referred to chordate. All those that have backbones are put under phylum called chordata. This is the next subcategory of classification. So kingdom, phylum, and then comes the class. What class do we belong to? We belong to mammals. We belong to mammalia, or I'm just simplifying it. We belong to what is called mammals. So mammals are those chordates which have hair and mammary glands. So they feed the baby. Okay, so these organisms have fur on their body. Okay, plus mammary glands. They have mammary glands. So what you can remember here is mammary glands. So they can feed the baby through the body produced milk. So these come under mammals. So very simply, just want you to have a brief idea. This is not being asked in the exam. So just a picture about how humans are classified and how do we connect to primates.
Okay. Sir, for mammals, is having mammary glands the criteria, or just that, or even giving birth directly is a criteria?
So like a couple of things are there. In the general feature that we look into here is having mammary glands and being able to feed. And which of those organisms actually have mammary glands? Those that actually carry the baby to certain age and then deliver it and take care of it. Like if you see cows, for example, or humans, a lot of chimpanzees, or different apes have these features in it. There are different versions of organisms which actually don't follow the same strategy of giving birth to the children. So those aspects. But I would like to pick up the key ideas, just a reference point for you to remember. Okay. So those that are able to give birth to babies and feed them through mammary glands. So class mammals. And then as you see it, we become more and more specialized as we go down. We were all animals. Cats and us can be put together. And then backbone, we could separate them based on the presence of backbone. And then we are mammals. The way we actually raise children is different and have children is different. So we actually are put under mammals. So mammals, mammary glands. That is something easy for you to remember. And then we come under the order of primate. This is one word I want you to remember. Under the kingdom animals, we come under the order primates. So all primates, monkeys to us, come under this order. They all have same classification till here. Even monkeys have same classification till here. How are they related to us? They are animals, they have backbones, they also have mammary glands, and they also share quite a bit of features that we show as primates. So order is called primates. Order, primates. And primates are those things either you can look into the mammals which have two things that you can remember here. One, high level of intelligence. We actually have high level of intelligence compared to many other mammals. Our intelligence levels is very, very high. So primates are intelligent mammals with grasping fingers. Something that specifically that we see with primates is we have specially designed fingers. We are able to grasp things. Have you ever seen cat grasping it like that? Cat has to use both of it. Right? They don't have those grasping nature. Primates, specialized nature in primates are specialized features in primates is this grasping ability. Grasping. I'm going to show you images to tell you and describe how this works out. But for now, just remember a basic idea that primates have certain features which make them different from other mammals. High level of intelligence in grasping is something that you can make a note of. So then further on, we move on giving other classes like suborder call. This becomes more and more specialized here, and where monkeys and apes and they get separated from each other. Suborder is called Anthropoidea. It's called Anthropoidea. Suborder is called Anthropoidea. Anthropos means humans. So we are now becoming more specialized. We are now developing more human-like features. Anthropos, Anthropoidea is called. Okay, more human-like. I'm going to give that classification, separate classification. There we're going to discuss a bit more on that. Anthropoidea. Okay, so this is where we split from several preliminary monkeys or monkey-like creatures. Okay, Anthropology also carries some old world, new world monkeys, which we belong to. Okay, but this more human-like features are developing here from primates. Otherwise, there are many other primates which are not like humans. Okay, so we are specializing from here. Suborder is Anthropoidea. Okay, then comes the infraorder. Infraorder. Suborder is further categorized into infraorder. So I'll explain these features, but for now, just remember it is called Catarrhini. Catarrhini. So depending on the shape of the nose, we are put under Catarrhini. Okay, I'll explain and tell you that. So basically, this is talking about how nostrils are placed, how nose structure is. How do we have, what type of noses we have? We actually have downward facing noses. We have two nostrils and they're facing downward. So they are mostly based on nose shape and type. Okay, downward facing nostrils. Okay, we'll see some monkeys that live in other countries. Some of them don't have downward facing. Like if you see apes actually have downward facing noses. But if you see some monkeys, they actually have a flat two holes for the nose that you notice. So they are separated based on this feature, based on the nose appearance. So Catarrhini, we belong to Catarrhini. Nostrils that, you know, direct downward. So infraorder. And then we come under what is called superfamily. Superfamily called Hominoidea. 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 Hominoidea refers to apes and humans are put under Hominoidea. So I was telling you Catarrhini includes some old world and new, more specialized, but of course we are moving away from monkeys along with apes. So apes and humans are put under Hominoidea. Hominoidea it is called. Okay, apes and humans because we have more similarities. So we are put together under superfamily called Humanoidea. And then we are put under a family called Hominidae. So superfamily 2, we move to the family. This family is called Hominidae. They may sound similar. Okay, idea is usually used for superfamilies. Ide. So both have same prefix. Homin. Hominoidea is superfamily where we are also together with apes, and Hominidae is where we are diverging into special categories. And Hominidae refers to something that walks upright. So this is Hominidae contains those that walk upright, like us and our ancestors that who could walk upright. Okay. And now within the family, there is subfamily. So superfamily, family, subfamily. So when they say know the position of humans in the primate classification, this gives us that position, where exactly we are. So subfamily called Homininae. Suffix changes again here, Homininae. So Hominoidea superfamily, Hominidae family, Homininae superfamily. Sorry, subfamily, not super. So this is where modern humans are placed. Archaic humans were part of Hominidae. Okay. Sometimes you hear the word hominization process. Becoming humans. Becoming humans. Okay. So you hear in the textbooks, for example, these terms. So we are referring to becoming humans. So modern humans are placed under subfamily Homininae. Finally, genus and species. So this is what we are today. What genus do we belong to? Homo. We belong to Homo and sapiens. Species sapiens. Sapiens. Do you know what is the meaning of sapiens?
To think.
Something to the wise. Okay. able to think, wise. So Homo sapiens. Sometimes, do you know how they call us today? They even call us Homo sapiens sapiens. In some texts, you also hear that we are referred to Homo sapiens sapiens. Okay, sapiens means wise. Then what is Homo sapiens sapiens?
More wise.
That may be right, but actually they say that it is people who know that they are wise. We know that we are wise, or at least we think we are wise. Sapiens sapiens. Those who think we are wise. Okay, so they say more modern humans are Homo sapiens sapiens, or simply Homo sapiens.
Is it who think they are wise or who know they are wise?
Who know they are wise. I was joking that think we are wise. We don't know, right? Someone has to evaluate that, but we think we are wise. But yes, as per the textbooks, like, who knows that they are wise? So this is a human classification. Okay, what are you seeing here? We are actually put into categories where we become more and more specialized, starting with the more broader version to more specialized versions. That is why we all are put together because we share several features with animals in the animal kingdom. And we are put into the chordata phylum because we also have backbone. And then we are also mammals because we give rise to birth, give rise to children who needs to be fed using mammary glands. So mammals. And we are put into the order of primates. So this is where you have to connect us to the monkeys and apes, etc. So we all have high level intelligence. If you see monkey, we always believe or think that they are behaving like us. There must be several times that you felt monkeys is behaving like us, right? It throws things, it actually takes and eats banana the way we eat it. It holds the babies the way we hold it. So a lot of features that you see as they do, right? So primates with high intelligence, and one specific feature is they have very similar structures of our arms that you notice there. So they have grasping nature. I'll show images on this later. And then since then, we actually become more diverse. Suborder, we are put into what is called suborder of Anthropology, more human-like. But Anthropology still contains several monkeys, especially old world monkeys, new world monkeys, etc. Within them, we have something called Catarrhini. Catarrhini. So downward. So Catarrhini normally refers to old world monkeys, and these have a downward facing nostrils. Humans are a type of old world monkeys. Okay, I'll tell you what does it mean. And then super family. We belong to super family called Hominoidea. Say it a couple of times so you get used to the term Hominoidea. Okay, don't have to get scared because don't have to do this in the exam, but have a picture about it, understanding it. Hominoidea, where we are diverging from the other monkeys. Where apes and humans are put together in the Hominoidea superfamily. And then you're becoming more specialized with the family Hominidae. You're placed into Hominidae family where we walk upright. So humans are placed into this. All ancestral humans, archaic humans are all part of this. So we walk upright. And our subfamily is Homininae, where modern humans are put into. Okay, we are hominids. We are hominids. Hominization process. We are becoming humans. Our genus is Homo, and we are species Sapiens because we are wise humans. And sometimes we are referred to as Homo sapiens sapiens because we know we are wise. Okay, this is a brief classification and the place where humans are put under. So this is a position of humans. You see, sometimes I mention what is a position of humans in hierarchy of life. So this is what our position is. Why are we put into this? Because of these features that we have. Okay, right. So now let's talk about primate classification. I'm going to give a broader picture about primates because we so far talked about humans. But what is Catarrhini? What are the other primates? What are the other categories? Let's have a brief look into these categories. Okay, right. So you have seen the order primates. So far we understood order primates is part of Mammalia, part of animal kingdom. Correct. Let's see how are primates classified, because this unit 1.5 expects us to learn more about primates. But one question, if you have to know, why do we have to study primates in anthropology? Anthropology is about studying humans, but why are we studying about primates? What is the purpose here? Is there any specific objective in including primates as part of anthropology? Why should we study about monkeys and chimpanzees?
Because we have evolved from primates and share some amount of DNA.
Actually, quite a bit of DNA, indeed. Quite a bit of DNA we share. They say about 97% of DNA we share with our closest apes called chimpanzees. Okay, quite a bit of similarity. So it's like getting a good picture. We need to know who we are before us. Before becoming humans, who we were. I know it's not like we replace animals, right? We don't replace chimpanzees and become humans. But in evolution, we have diverged from them. So we share quite a bit of features with them, with primates. This is one. One aspect is we know how we were before becoming humans. So that comparative analysis would help us understanding why we developed in certain manner, why we got certain type of feet, certain type of arms, certain type of face. We could make connections when you compare ourselves with primates and how they are existing today in comparison with us. It provides us a good picture about what changes have happened and what is the reason behind them. Why do we have such hands? Why do we have such eyes and faces? So now we are able to connect. We are able to see the connections. So that is very important. That provides us a comparative analysis. Second, we cannot study all aspects of humans because of the problems that we discussed in human genetics part. So we can study primates and relate with humans. So it provides us an opportunity to study them, to understand them. Okay. So that is also a great benefit of studying primate. That is why primatology, study of primates, is put under anthropology. Primatology, primatology, study of primates. Study of primates put under anthropology. Because of the closer connection, and also they provide us opportunity to study them and understand by relating to us. Okay, so primates are first categorized into suborders, prosimians, anthropoids. If you want to draw this, okay, give enough space, take a full page, write down few features I'm going to add, like prosimians. I'm going to briefly describe about prosimians. Anthropoids, I'm going to briefly describe about anthropoids. Leave enough space for you to write this, okay, so that you build a bigger picture of this. And we have a lot of good resources for you to read on this. But in the exam point of view, I orient you to more towards the questions that have come in the exam. But otherwise, for the sake of understanding, if you need, I'm going to share one of the biological anthropology chapter where you can read prosimians, anthropoids. But in the exam point of view, it is not too much needed. Just know. So primates order is subcategorized into suborders, prosimians, anthropoids. So brief idea you need. Pro means what? Primitive. Like prokaryotes, pro means primitive. Simian means monkey. So prosimians refers to primitive monkeys. So primitive monkeys are prosimians. What about anthropoids? Anthro means humans. Okay, and normally Pithecus refers to apes. So ape like humans. Okay, so this is where humans are, monkeys, apes are all put together under anthropoids. Prosimians are purely primitive type of monkeys. Anthropoids are more human-like. Okay, so those animals, those primates, which we share a lot of similarities, are put together in anthropoids. Like the one we talked about, Anthropoidea. So this is suborder Anthropoidea. Anthropoids, general term, otherwise Anthropoidea. Okay, let's first finish talking about prosimians, primitive monkeys. Primitive monkeys are of two categories. Primitive monkeys are of two categories. What are they? Lemuriformes and Tarsiformes. Lemuriformes. So this is an infra order they call, but don't worry. So they are again categorized into Lemuriformes and Tarsiformes. Prosimians are of two types: Lemuriformes, Tarsiformes. Lemuriformes, Tarsiformes. So remember, these are very primitive. They have primate features, but are very primitive in nature. So I'm going to show you a few examples for you to understand. Under Lemuriformes and Tarsiformes, we talk about lemurs and lorises. Under Lemuriformes, we have what is called lemurs and lorises. Lemurs and lorises. Lemurs and lorises. Under Tarsiformes, we are going to hear about tarsiers. Tarsiers. Okay. So let's see what are lemurs, lorises, and tarsiers briefly. So we are going to understand the features of prosimians here. Prosimians are further categorized into lemuriformes and tarsiformes, and lemuriformes is categorized into lemurs and lorises and tarsiers. Okay, like that, if you see, we see these type of structures or classifications that you see. So here we're seeing the timelines of how primate ancestors is lemurs and lorises, tarsiers, new world, old world, monkeys, apes, humans have evolved. So this type of tree is called phylogenetic tree. Phylogenetic tree we call phylo, P-H-Y-L-O, phylogenetic tree. So in the exam, sometimes we are asking, or we have been asked to write about phylogenetic position. In 1.6, I'm going to explain you briefly on phylogenetic trees. But for now, just remember, phylogenetic trees refers to the trees where, based on similarities, we connect them, we position them in a tree-like structure, So what do I mean by that? Look at this. All primates probably had same ancestors. We all had probably same ancestor from which lemurs, tarsiers, new world, old world monkeys, etc. have been made. But humans are more connected to chimpanzees. So look at this, chimpanzees are put together with humans. And gorillas, chimpanzees, humans are more connected than orangutan. So gorillas are put together like this, like a branched structure. It's like how tree contains different branches. They all start from the same trunk, right? Then you branch out. Okay, those that branch out are the ones which probably formed earlier enough. First branch is referring to the timeline. Okay, they branched out very early on. So if you see 40 million years ago, approximately, even much more earlier than 40 million years ago, approximately, 4 lakh years ago, you probably have seen these type of things. Okay, not 4 lakh, sorry, 40 millions. 4 crores years ago, the primates probably have originated like this, where lemurs and larsiers were there, and then tarsiers. Slowly, as you notice, that branching out is becoming more and more specialized to a level where we and chimpanzees are put together. Although we are different, but our ancestor was same. We both had a common ancestor at a later point of time. Okay, like that. So we create this tree called phylogenetic tree. Nowadays, we use genetic sequences for similarities. Okay. Otherwise, morphological features have been used, but nowadays we use sophisticated genomic sequences for this. Okay.
Will we be studying this again in a different chapter, sir, or noting down this now is?
Just for you to familiar with the term, in 1.6 we are going to expand on this. Because in 1.6 we've put more emphasis on this. We zoom into this. This picture we were going to zoom into humans because we are more interested in how we got actually diverged into several of our ancestral species. Okay, but they got extincted. That is why we study them in quaternary fossil evidences that we take there under 1.6. So we are going to expand more on the phylogenetic tree later. But for now, just be familiar that phylogenetic means constructing a tree-like connection to various organisms based on their point of evolution. Okay. In case if they want to give a short note on something like phylogenetic trees, you should be able to write. You need to know what they are, construct something like this. We are going to see a couple of those examples for humans. Okay, right. So prosimians, as I was telling you, they are most primitive primates. You see lorises here, they don't too much look like monkeys to us. They're very primitive. Sometimes they're so tiny, they're like rat-like structures. They may have about 30 grams, 40 grams in weight. So they're very, very tiny. So tiny. These are the primitive monkeys. Okay. So some features, like how are they different from us? What type of features do they have? Few features for you to make a note of. So these majority of these lorises, okay, are nocturnal. Nocturnal. They live in they're active in the night times. They're nocturnal. They are nocturnal. Okay. So what does it mean? So they live in the night. They're actually active in the night time. Okay. They can come in variety of sizes and shapes. Okay. And you probably see some prognathism because if you see animals like cats, horses, they have enough prognathism. Like that, you also still see the prognathic behavior in them. The protrusion can be seen. So more similarities to the other animals that you notice here, protruding. Okay, you don't have to remember all the facts. I'm going to just talk about selective ones, just selected features for you to see the difference. Okay, and eyes are placed in such a way that you notice here in the nocturnal one. They have a lot of primate features. Eyes are placed in the front because nocturnal nature can be seen. They usually have broad eyes, broad eyes. Sometimes, they have probably majority of the whole skull is eyes. They have a small skull with big eyes. Why? Because they have to trap enough light into their eyes. There's a little light is present in the night time, so their eyes are designed in such a way that they can trap enough light into it. Okay, you also see that in the skull, the proportion of the eyes is actually larger. They have larger looking eyes. This is common with many nocturnal animals, and which is the case with lorises and lemurs. Okay, and what else you see? Their head sizes are small, meaning their brains are also small. They have smaller brains. I was telling you we are more intelligent animals. That intelligence can be correlated with the brain size as well. So we have bigger brains compared to our body structure. So what do you see? They still have smaller heads, hence smaller brains. Okay. Yeah, one more point I want you to make note from here is claws. So we have nails. As primates, we have nails. But these primitive monkeys still have claws, like, in other animals that you notice, they have claws instead of nails. So some primitive features are still there. Okay, and this is how they look like. And where do they live? What do you see? Where do they live? Their habitat wise, mostly they live on the trees. They're arboreal in nature. Arboreal in nature. They live on trees. Okay, so this is about briefly prosimians, and within that we talked about lemurs and lorises. Okay, so Tarsius. So tarsiers in a way have bit of features of the primitive monkeys, bit of features of the anthropoidea. Sometimes they're put separately into this category called Tarsiformis, another order. Okay, so tarsiers, this is how they look like. You can see a bit of features like monkeys here, right? Of the tail structure, overall body shape, body dimension, if you notice. So they carry a mixture of anthropoid and prosimian traits. They're also nocturnal. They're also nocturnal. Nocturnal. Okay, and also they are the rare examples of carnivorous in primates. Monkeys, for example, are many of the chimpanzees, apes, with few exceptions to them. They don't eat a lot of different components like this. So few examples of carnivorous primates is tarsiers. They eat insects and small vertebrates. Few such examples you would find. As we go further on, I'll explain that to you. So tarsiers are like that. Okay, I don't think we need to learn about strepsirrhini. Next, we'll move on to. So this is briefly about prosimians. So few features related to them. I don't think we need more than that for in the exam point of view. So we'll focus more on us, like anthropoids. Anthropoids are further categorized into platyrrhines and catarrhines. We are further categorized into platyrrhines and catarrhines. So simply, platyrrhines refers to those with flat noses. Platy means flat, rhino means nose. Flat noses. Platyrhino refers to those that contain flat noses. And we'll see that they have nostrils open on the sideways. If you see the New World monkeys, you see their nostrils open on the side. Okay, to the side like that. Flat and to the side, as if they're attached to the face. I'll show you examples of them. Okay, whereas catarrhini is, as I was telling you, we belong to catarrhini, right? What did I tell you about catarrhini in human classification? Downward facing nostrils. Downward facing nostrils. Downward facing nostrils. And these platyrrhines are called New World monkeys. So catarrhines are Old World monkeys and platyrrhines contain New World monkeys. What does it mean by New World and Old World? So New World refers to things like North America, South America. So those places, the monkeys that are found in this New World, meaning they probably have moved from where they originated. Where are they originated? They originated in Africa, for example. What we believe is that these are originated in Africa. So these countries, Africa, Asia, these are called as Old World, and New World is Americas. So monkeys that are found in the New World in Americas are called platyrrhines, and those that are actually found in Africa, Asia, etc. are catarrhines. Okay, so let's see a few examples of these features of New World monkeys and Old World monkeys. They're further categorized, New World and Old World monkeys, into various subfamilies and families. I don't think we need to know them. One superfamily that we mentioned is seboids. They're called seboids. Okay. So I'll show you the features of them. Of the anthropoids, we're going to look into the features of platyrrhines and catarrhines, Old World monkeys and New World monkeys. Okay. So as I was telling you, these anthropoids contain monkeys, apes, and mans together. And within them, we have Old World monkeys and New World monkeys. So you see the difference between old world monkeys and new world monkeys here briefly. So old world monkeys have long snout. Okay, these are catarrhini. So they have snout. So nose actually protrudes like this. You can see the nose coming forward, okay, and facing downward. So whereas New World monkeys have flat faces. Okay, I don't know whether you can see the face clearly here. Maybe I can show you here the difference. So we are noticing here catarrhines and platyrhines. Catarrhini and platyrhini. So if you see the platyrhini here, is they have flat noses. It's not coming out. Whereas if you see in the catarrhini, it is downward facing, as opposed to here side facing nostrils. Here they're downward facing, right? You can see that type of uplift in the nose. Nose is clearly seen. So these are called old world monkeys. These are called new world monkeys. Okay, they have flat noses and nostrils facing on the sides. And the septum, if you notice, the septum means a connection, that we have the connection between two nostrils. So these, because to place them on the side, they have to have wide septum, wide separation they need. So between the nostrils, there's a big separation. This part you notice here, the wide septum. That is why the nostrils are on the sides. So wide septum, whereas catarrhini has narrow septum. Look at the junction between two nostrils in this. So they are very tiny, they're very narrow. So narrow septum seen in old world monkeys. So we are seeing here a few features and where do they survive? Old world versus new world. What other difference we notice here? This new world monkeys tend to have what is called a prehensile tail. New world monkeys carry prehensile tail. What is prehensile tail? It's like a fifth arm for them. It can also use, like sometimes you notice that they actually hang with this tail attached to a branch. So this is called prehensile tail. So it likes an additional arm to them to hold on to trees, especially for those that live in trees, adjusted to arboreal life. Okay, they're more adapted to arboreal life. So prehensile tail is one such an example of feature, which makes them suitable for living in trees, prehensile tail. And whereas old world monkeys don't have those long tails like new world monkeys, they're shorter versions of tail and which are non-prehensile. They're non-prehensile. Okay, right. So that is enough of our old world and new world monkeys. Brief description, a few basic differences that are enough. And where are we placed here? Are we new world monkeys or old world monkeys? Are humans belong to new world or old world?
Old world.
Remember the origins of it. Origin seems to be from Africa, correct? So we are old world monkeys. So we are placed under apes and humans are old world monkeys. Catarrhini. I was telling you catarrhini, right? Catarrhini refers to old world monkeys. Okay. So within apes, we have two categories. Sometimes we hear the word in textbooks called lesser apes and greater apes or great apes. Lesser apes and greater apes. So lesser apes refer to gibbons and salmon. Gibbons and saimangs come under lesser apes. If you see the size wise, gibbons are small, very tiny compared to humans. Okay, so gibbons and siamongs come under lesser apes, the small versions of apes basically. If you see siamongs here, okay, so these are called lesser apes. Great apes are those that are huge, big, like orangutans, chimpanzees, gorillas. So great apes include orangutans, chimpanzees, gorillas. Okay, so they are found in Asia, for example, and in Africa. Mostly if we see them in Africa and Southeast Asia. Africa and Southeast Asia. Sometimes they even use the word African apes. When they say African apes, they're talking about gorillas, chimpanzees, bonobos, etc. Orangutans are more Asian apes. Gibbons and orangutans are Asian versions of apes. So geographically also, gibbons and orangutans are Asian versions of apes, whereas gorillas, chimpanzees, bonobos are African apes. Okay, so they're found mostly in Africa, Southeast Asia, and they don't have tails. Like monkeys, they don't have tails. Tails are lost in them. Okay, they have long arms to body length. We'll compare the apes with humans. You will notice that they have long arms. In the image, you may be able to see it. Like you see, gorilla has huge arms and relatively smaller limbs. Okay, so smaller legs, shorter legs compared to longer arms. She also seen orangutans. Why do they have such long arms? Because they are quadrupedals. They're quadrupedals. They walk on 4 feet. So they can easily touch the ground with long arms, which is not the case for humans. We don't need such long arms. We have shorter arms and longer legs. We'll again see this in the comparison between primates, but I wanted to develop a brief relative picture here. Like gorillas are huge, okay, followed by orangutans and chimpanzees. And you notice that they have long arms compared to their shorter legs and long arms, which is opposite in case of the humans. We have long legs and shorter arms. Okay, so we're going to put more focus on to now apes and humans. So far, we discussed about the brief classification. So we finished talking about primate taxonomy. How are primates classified? And we also talked about where is humans' place in primates. We covered those two aspects so far. Next, I'm going to briefly talk to you about characteristics of primates. We talked about few features here. I'm going to list the various features of primates. Various features of primates. Few specific terms, and I'll show you images related to that. So these are some important primate characteristics. And there's a lot of overlap. You notice that if you know primate characteristics, when we compare humans and primates like apes, you will see specific differences that we have within these characteristics. Okay, so what are the characteristics of primates or features of primates? Okay, so I was telling you, primates actually have specially designed limbs. So we notice that we have opposable thumb and big toes. We have opposable thumb and big toes. What does it mean? Opposable thumb means with the thumb you can touch tip of any finger. So this is called opposable thumb. Thumb is here. It's placed in such a way that with this you can touch tip of any finger. This is called opposable thumb. Opposable thumb. Show this to you. I'm going to send this chapter for reference. Okay, I'm going to show the great images in this book. We're going to use them. So, for example, you notice here, look at opposable thumb between humans and chimpanzee. This is the arm of chimpanzee. Look how arm of chimpanzee looks like. Do you see a lot of similarity between our arms and chimpanzee's arms? They both have opposable thumbs. Okay, why do we need them? Why do we need opposable thumbs? Opposable thumbs are needed for two things. One is power grip, for better holding of things. What do you notice in the image here? You see in this particular picture, a gorilla is holding a branch with power grip, like holding with enough grip, with enough strength. So because of opposable thumb, imagine without this, can you have that much of strength? You need to have opposing effect of the this thumb to get the grip, to hold on tight. Okay, this opposable thumb that you notice here, the gorilla holding a branch with that grip. So opposable thumb provides us power grip, grip with enough strength. So this is one. Second one is precision grip. Precise with fingers, by utilizing thumb, you can precisely pick up things. So chimpanzee is removing the debris in a grooming process. This is a part of their behavior. In the grooming process, it is removing debris, and this is possible because of the precision grip that we have. Do you think cats can have this, dogs can have this precision grip? They cannot have it. They cannot hold things like that. So we developed precision grip because of this feature of the arms, like especially opposable thumb. So power grip and precision grip. And the good thing about this book is they also nicely describe it, the terms. Power grip is a grip in which object is held between the fingers and the palm with the thumb reinforcing the fingers. Whereas precision grip is a grip in which object is held between one or more fingers with thumb fully opposed to the fingertips. Okay, this is a nice chapter. This is a resource for us to read. Of course, you don't have to read everything, so I'm selectively talking about the information, showing the images. Okay, next, I'm going to share this Word document with you, so you know what are those features that you need to remember. And then we also have flat nails instead of claws, with fingerprints on fingers and toes. Okay, we don't have claws like the other animals do, right? Many of the other animals that we see in mammalian category, they have claws, but we have flat nails. We have flat nails that you have seen already from the previous image. We have flat nails. We don't have claws like cats have, for example. We don't have it, like tigers, right? So, but we have flat nails. And also we have fingerprints, like we talked about in race concept, dermatoglyphics. We have fingerprints on fingers and toes. Then in primates, hind limb domination you normally notice for locomotion. For walking, we use the back limbs or hind limbs. Okay, even if you see chimpanzees and others, the most of the strength comes from their back limbs. And then in addition to that, they use the front limbs. Okay, humans is a different thing because we bipedals, we don't use the arms for walking. So, but hind limbs are commonly used for dominant locomotion in primates. Okay, although 4 legs are used, the back legs actually provide more support. Hind limb dominated locomotion. Then this is very, very important. This next component is very important. Some of the important ones that I'll highlight here. So primates have actually slowly lost the use of their nose. They switched from using their olfactory system to vision. We switched more from the type of animals which use their noses, their smelling ability to sense things, to where animals can see things better. In evolution, we have noticed that there's a reduction in olfactory sensory system, or reduction in smelling ability as compared to the other mammalian orders. Look at dogs and cats. What do? How do they sense things? They smell. They smell things. But what about us? We do have smelling ability, but not as well as they do. Dogs seems to have about, I think, at least 50 times higher smelling ability than us. Okay. So at the cost of what happened? Our smelling ability has decreased. I'll tell you this, there is a connection to where we live. So most of these monkeys in the beginning, they live in trees. If they have these features, the specific features of smell like this, what happens? They won't be able to understand the specific smells that they need. Otherwise, because trees smell so much, if you are really sensitive to the smell, for arboreal life, it is not desirable. So that is probably one reason why they lost. This is one of the adaptations that you notice with arboreal life. I'm going to summarize it again because we have a specific topic here for arboreal. So smelling ability has decreased. Okay. But what has improved compared to the other orders of animals? Our visual sensation has improved. Our vision has improved compared to those animals. Okay, smell has reduced, ability to smell has reduced, ability to see has improved. Okay, two things I want you to make a note of here. One, frontation of eyes, location of eyes or positioning of eyes. Compared to, think about goats. Think about goats, for example, and think about dogs. Where are the eyes placed in the dog? They have snouts. Eyes are placed like this on the side, right? So normally you notice in these animals, eyes are placed on the sideward. We actually, eyes are brought together. So this is called frontation of eyes. Eyes came to the front of the face. Frontation. Placement of the eyes on the front side of the face. Plus, what is the benefit of having eyes in the front? Do you know the reason behind it? What is the benefit of having eyes in the front? Okay, we can see depth. When two eyes are brought like this, put in this angle, we actually have overlapping region that provides us the information of depth. You hear the terms like binocular vision, stereoscopic vision, or basically we are referring to the depth. Okay, so we notice overlap of visual fields. If you really see, we cannot cover 180 degrees. We cover slightly less than 180 degrees. You look at what you can see. Your vision is this much. You're able to see so much. You cannot see everything here. This is on this side, you cannot see much. You're only able to see here. And in the center, we have overlap. This eye can actually reflect the same thing. So provides us more depth. Like if you're jumping, if you are a monkey and jumping from a tree to the other tree, you're able to exactly estimate the distance so that you know whether you are able to jump or not. So these features are very, very important. Visual features seems to be very important for their survival. We have better coverage and we also have depth. Of course, for animals like dogs, they can see around things. For them, it protects because they can see on both the sides. So to protect themselves from dangers. But we at the cost of, we cannot see behind. We only see the front. But we can see far enough and we can get the depth information about substance that before us. It's a very important reduction in smell, ability to smell, and enhancement in visual sensation. Two key points. What else we notice? Look at other animals and us. Other animals can have multiple babies in one go. Dogs, for example, pigs, for example, cats, for example, they can give rise to 3, 4 babies at a time. So whereas in us, the tendency towards smaller size of progeny, number here, when we talk about smaller litter size means small number. We usually have one, maybe rarely two, but usually one. So litter size has decreased. We put decrease in litter size, number of progeny that we have in one birth. Towards smaller litter size plus longer gestation times. Rats, for example, have children within few weeks. They don't have that long gestation time. We spend about 9 months in mother's womb. So longer gestation times. We spend more time or we take more time to have the babies and only have one baby each time. And those babies who are born to us require enough care. They're not ready, right? I think I might have told you this. If like a calf born to a cow, it is as soon as it is born, in few hours it is able to walk. It has its own freedom. Of course, it has to be fed by the mother, but it can go around. It has enough freedom. It is actually fully developed. Whereas our children requires at least 2 years of care to become independent. So increased period of maternal investment and care. So smaller litter size, longer gestation times, okay, more maternal investment in taking care of the babies to make them independent. And another most important one is the brain size. If you see, brain size has increased. Brain size has increased from those primates. Primates usually have about 150 grams, etc. or so, monkeys and apes, and that increased to almost 1300 grams in us. 1300 grams is the brain size, brain volume for us, starting from 150, almost tenfold increase. But overall, even with compared to the animals, other animals, they have very small brains. Primates have bigger, larger brains. And within primates, compared to the apes, we as humans have bigger brains, it's larger brains.
So is it grams or cc?
It is cc. Normally we say cc, but approximately correlates with that because it's volume. So we say cc, 150 cc and 1300 cc is normally we use the word cc, but I think it correlates with the grams as well.
So currently humans, it's 1500 cc.
1300 plus, we say. 1300 plus, we say there's a variation to that. That 1.6 will compare that how exactly it varied from our ancestors to us. But normally they say 1300 plus. I don't think we have 1500, but definitely 1300 plus. Okay. And even you notice that there's reduction in number of teeth. The type of teeth and number of teeth has changed from those animals to primates. Reduction in number of teeth. Reduction in number of teeth. Okay. If you see in the PDF version here. Yeah. So they briefly explained this dental formula, molars, premolars, canines, and incisors. We briefly talked about them in the growth chapter, right? Okay. So there are 4 types of primate teeth we normally notice with incisors, canines, premolars, and molars. Okay. So with the varied numbers of primates, you notice that anywhere between 18 to 36. Okay, with variation within how teeth is arranged. Okay, lemurs have about 36 number of teeth. Primitive monkeys have 36. Okay, humans, apes, and all world monkeys usually have 32 teeth. Okay, in human and primate comparison, I'm also going to focus a bit more on how ape dentition differs from human dentition. How are these teeth different between humans and apes? Okay, for now, just the teeth number has decreased. Okay, and also their composition has also changed. We only have maximum 2 incisors, 1 canine on each side, 3 premolars and 3 molars, and 1/4 basically, and one quarter of the thing. So if you're basically seeing for eight of them, we have 2 incisors, 1 canine, 3 premolars, 3 molars. Okay. What else you see in the primates? Progressive development of uprightness. Uprightness. Progressively, we evolve to stand upright. So uprightness has progressively developed because they are occasional bipedals. Some of these apes, for example, they can occasionally stand on 2 feet. You see them in the zoos, right? But while walking, they use 4. So they're occasional bipedals. But like that, bipedalism has evolved to uprightness, being able to stand upright. Okay, and other things I already talked to you, you can mention about this prehensile hands that we talked about for arboreal life. For living in trees, prehensile hands have been developed in some of them, the New World monkeys especially. Okay, there are many others that I'm going to cover as part of the primate specifics, specifically with the primate, but these things are, I think, mostly important for us. How our arms have changed. Okay, opposable thumb is very important. And we also talked about hind limb dominance. We talked about decrease in sensory system, increase in vision. Okay, and we also talked about increased in brain size over a period of time. So you can see that how this has increased. Okay, some of these animals, if you see cranial capacity in cubic centimeters, the CC. So gibbons, for example, 102 cc, chimpanzees 400 cc, orangutans approximately 450, gorilla 500, humans 1350 approximately. So like that, gradual change you notice, but overall this is much more or larger compared to the brains and heads of the other animals. Okay, in terms of cc, and from gibbons to humans also there is a gradual change. Apes to humans also we notice this change. The chapter I'm going to share with you, you can use the data tables here, images here. Okay, so otherwise, what else? So reduction in teeth number, we talked about. Gradual uprightness, we talked about. Prehensile hands. Okay, few things that I'm comparing, like a grasping big toe differs between primates and apes and humans. I'm going to talk about them later. Brain development also I'm going to focus, so you can add these points later. Testis descending in scrotum is one thing that you notice in primates. Testis is found within the scrotum because for sperm production there seem to be a different temperature requirement. So testis is found to be placed in a scrotum, in sachet or buckets called scrotum. And we also show differences in sexual maturity, age of sexual maturity. So these are secondary. I think depending on the question, these are all secondary points. All what I discussed so far are primary points. Size, we talked about, I already mentioned to you, there are prosimians which are as small as 30 grams to orangutans and chimpanzees which may weigh about 350, 400 kgs. So huge range in size that you may find within primates. And this is important to note. Compared to many other animals like dogs and cats, they have breeding seasons. Correct? With primates, we don't have that. Year-round sexuality is seen with primates. There is no specific breeding season for them. Okay, usually, you see there may be exceptions to that. Usually you see that there is a year-round sexuality. So they have long generation time, but year-round sexuality to compensate. Otherwise, animals can have one go multiple children, but only in given seasons. But here, we have year-round sexuality, no specific breeding season, with smaller litter size. Okay. Next, also we have long life. Compared to them, we have increased lifespan. We show increased lifespan. Okay, so we'll further discuss on this primate characteristics in comparison now. We are going to emphasize few of these primate characteristics, but we are going to compare the differences between man and apes. We are going to compare the differences between man and apes. So characteristics of primates we discussed. Okay, and the primate taxonomy we covered, primate adaptations, few of them that we are covering here for arboreal and terrestrial. Maybe I'll mention to you before going to the more characteristics here. Let me highlight arboreal and terrestrial components. Because we anyway discuss these components here. So you see arboreal adaptations, because many of the terrestrial adaptations we are going to see as part of bipedalism, right? But you notice arboreal adaptations. Primates show a range of behaviors that we're going to talk about. So one, skeletal structure. So skeletal structure, like how different joints are designed, how bones are placed into different specific structures. Okay, so provides us flexibility on trees. When I say us, here I'm talking about primates which are adapted to live on trees or live on trees. So arboreal, I was already referring to some of these points. The skeletal system is designed in such a way that they can hang on to the trees. Something really simple that you see size of them. You see those smaller versions of primates tend to live on trees. Large versions of primates, bigger primates tend to live on terrestrials, right? If you see chimpanzees, if you see gorillas, they prefer to live on terrestrial because the trees cannot handle them very well. That the weight is too much for them, right? So most of the monkeys live on trees. So prehensile tail we talked about, and opposable thumb we talked about, precision grip. Okay, so these type of points are arboreal adaptations. Opposable thumb, and also you notice that they also have many primates which live on trees also have opposable toes. Not only their thumbs but also toes are opposable in them. So sometimes more or less you will find both, okay, both arms and legs, both feet and hands show very similar structure with opposable thumb for those that live on trees. But for us, we don't have opposable thumb. We'll see in the primate comparison, we actually have our toe is more or less sits along with the, or in the same line with the other fingers of the foot. Correct? Because we live in terrestrial areas. We don't need opposable toe for that. Whereas those that live in the arboreal areas or live on trees require opposable big toe. Opposable thumb, opposable big toe are also arboreal adaptations. Okay, also there are a few more details like how our skeletal system backbone is designed. I'm going to talk to you later. Is also designed for differently for arboreal lifestyle. Their curvature, and this is designed differently for those that live on trees. Second one I already told you is enhanced sense of touch, reduced sense of smell, enhanced sense of vision and touch. So reduced sense and increased vision. You can also mention them as part of the arboreal adaptations. So less disturbance from the background smell, basically on trees here. Plus, here you can add increased or enhanced sense of touch. So I was also talking to you, instead of claws that we actually have nails, okay? So which help in surviving on the trees. And we also have dermal ridges, which provide us more sensitivity to touch. We can touch and feel. So that sensation of touch has also increased. So vision, smell, skeletal changes that have happened to satisfy the requirements to live on trees. Just wanted to highlight that these are part of the arboreal changes. Terrestrial, we're going to talk with respect to humans. 2 feet, for example, okay, and no prehensile tail, and no opposable toe, and vision overlaps with both for arboreal lifestyle and terrestrial lifestyle. So we're going to see that how humans have evolved and many of the characteristics that we are going to discuss, starting with the spinal cord variations, limb variations, okay? They are terrestrial adaptations. Excuse me. Okay. So let's now compare primates and humans. What are the specific differences that we find within primates between apes and us? comparative anatomy of man and apes. So this is something that is usually coming in the exam. I've already talked to you about general picture of primate characteristics. We are seeing few specific characteristics in terms of difference. So what differences you notice here? The overall proportionality of the body has changed in man. Overall proportionality of the body has changed in man. In apes, they may go from smaller sizes compared to the man to the bigger versions like gorilla that you notice they're huge. But you see quite a bit of similarities between them and us. Lot of similarities that we share with them. That is why I think I'm going to share one document. It says man is a primate, explain. So we have to list the various features of humans for that. That is what you notice here. So a lot of similarities that you see between us and them. Okay, but body proportionality differences that you notice. They may go from gibbons to gorillas, go a lot of variation in size, whereas humans proportionality is different. So what do you notice here? We actually have, I think I already mentioned to you, shorter arms, longer legs. Shorter arms, longer legs. Look at orangutan, look at gibbons, they actually have a longer, quite a bit of long arms compared to their legs. This is also terrestrial adaptation, as I was telling you. Sorry, yes, terrestrial adaptation we can add to. Okay, long arms. So they can easily put the arms on the ground. So you can add this point to the terrestrial adaptation, long arms. Opposite in the humans, we actually have shorter arms, longer legs. This is one point you can write. And second component, you see reduced hair. These animals have too much of hair compared to us. Hair is reduced in us. Body hair. Okay. So let's look at the comparison between chimpanzees and humans. Few specific features that we are going to compare here. So first of all, starting with the brain, we definitely have bigger brains compared to the chimpanzees. Chimpanzees have small cranium, small skull, and small brain. Whereas humans have large cranium and brain. Okay, this is something that we already talked about, right? You have to highlight these points. So forehead, look at the forehead. We'll notice that in when we start talk about humans. So we have more or less flat forehead and flat faces. We have flat foreheads and flat faces. Okay, look at this, more or less flat forehead. But whereas in chimpanzees, what do you notice? Protruding brow and sloping face. So brow ridges that you notice are protruding, they come out. We don't have that much of brow ridges. If you see their skeletal system, you notice that they have big brow ridges like this. We have more or less flatter, and so they have sloping face. We have more or less flat, but they have gradual decrease or gradually receding faces that they have. So these features we see that are shared in our ancestors. Human ancestors have this more ape-like features. So when you really understand this, the 1.6 becomes easier for you to follow. So what are we learning here? More sloping type of face. So slowly receding type of face with big brow ridges or protruding brow ridges you notice in them. Okay. But within our flat face, you notice nose is protruding. Nose actually comes out. If you see in our face, nose comes out in the flat face. So protruding nose in humans, whereas broad and flat nose in chimpanzees. Okay. So we are covering the cranium part and the skull part, right? So go like that in the order. And then what are you noticing here? Look at the jaw size, teeth and jaw size. So we have small jaws and smaller teeth. We have small jaws and smaller teeth, whereas chimpanzees and other apes have larger jaws, big jaws and bigger size of the teeth. So small jaws and smaller teeth in humans, large jaws and larger teeth in chimpanzees. So this is ape dentition. So this is chimpanzees. Teeth look like this. Okay. So the shape of this is very different that you see. Arc type of shape that you normally notice for them. Arc type of shape. Okay. And they have big canines, bigger compared to us, big canines. And they normally say the space like this. This is called diastema. They call diastema. There is a spacing in their teeth, between the teeth, because, not sure if I have this image here. So the teeth, the difference, the spacing between the teeth that you notice here is very important because they can actually lock them. If they close the jaw, you notice that both get locked, both get nicely positioned like this, two teeth. They're spaced like that. Not sure if I have this image in here. Okay, so I'll show you that in another image. How do they actually lock? A larger canine gap or diastema it is called. In chimpanzees, they have larger gap. This is called diastema. Not sure if it is so visible to you in this image. You can indeed see that locking phenomenon. Are you able to see this? These two teeth is going like that, upward and downward is nicely sitting. Let me see if I can enlarge the image size.
It's clearer. It's gorilla next slide. Okay.
It doesn't matter. The gorilla also same story. I think in the gorilla also, you see how this is actually sitting together. Okay. So these features more or less hold true because sometimes they're asking specifically apes and humans, or sometimes they specifically ask chimpanzees and humans, gorillas and humans. Okay. More or less the information holds true for them. All those things, large cranium, flat face, protruding nose. Okay. And we're at the teeth now. So we're talking about U-shaped mandible here. And whereas the mandible, so this part is rectangular. This part is more or less rectangular here. Okay, whereas U-shaped, specifically U-shaped mandible that you find in humans. And we talked about size of the teeth and also large canine teeth. So teeth, dentition depends on what type of food they eat, correct? So other animals like dogs, for example, have more sharp canines. So they have to cut the meat and eat, correct? And also they use teeth for fighting, but we don't have to. Apes and us, we don't have to use teeth so much. So apes still have big canines compared to us and sharp canines compared to us, but gradually that size decreased. Okay, right. So chin. So you clearly see the chin in us, prominent chin. This also gradually changed. You see in human evolution, chin was not there in our ancestors. Chin became more and more prominent in later stages of our human development. Whereas, do you see chin in them? So this is huge jaw, protruding face, prognathism. In some human races that we talked about, prognathic faces that they have large jaw, and you can hardly see the chin here because it's big, it's huge. For chin, for making chin, you have to have decrease in the size of it so that the sharp portion shows up. But they have huge jaws, so we cannot find chin in them. So prominent chin in humans, no chin in apes like gorillas and chimpanzees. Okay, so this is with the face. And next, head. Head, how is head placed on this backbone here, a spinal cord here? What is the difference you see? So in us, actually, this is called foramen magnum. I think it should be there in one of the images here. It is called foramen magnum, small hole into which head is placed. The spinal cord is placed into a hole called foramen magnum. I'll show you this in the image. The foramen magnum is a hole into which spinal cord is placed. Let's see these. The skulls that we have seen, they are visible from those skulls. Okay, so you notice here in the skull. So here they're talking about cats, monkeys, chimpanzees, and humans. Okay, look at the difference between cats, monkeys, and chimpanzees and humans in the skull size. And look at the size of the canines, how they have decreased to us, to humans. From chimpanzees to humans also they have decreased. Okay, and the important one I want to tell where this hole is, where is the foramen magnum is. Foramen, F-O-R-A-M-E-N, foramen magnum. It is called the location of foramen magnum. It was towards the back. In the cats or in the monkeys, you see it is shifting to the center. From here to here, from cats here to the monkeys, the langurs that we see in India, and the chimpanzees, it moved further. In humans, it is in the center. Our head is actually balanced at the center because backbone is connected at the center of the skull. And this hole is called foramen magnum. So this is one of the factors that led to bipedalism in humans. I'll highlight them in the next class. So you see the difference in humans. Foramen magnum shifted to the center. So the skull, spinal cord or backbone is attached to the center or balanced in the center. Head is balanced in the center. Unlike those animals where it is connected at the back. Okay, so next, spinal cord. We'll talk about spinal cord, how spinal cord has actually changed. So in us, see it here. The spinal cord is S-curved. So you actually draw like an S shape for a spinal cord. You see, if you draw a line here, it looks like this. It is S-curved. So a lot of angles are introduced into this. A S-shaped spine. Whereas for them, it is simple curved. Simple curved spine. Look at how the spine is designed. Our spine is designed to balance the weight on 2 feet. That is why there are many, many points which can take the weight onto them. Like shock absorbers. Our spinal cord designed like a shock absorber. So it absorbs the weight onto it. So it has introduced several curvature to it. So overall it shows an S-shaped curve, whereas simple curved spine you see in apes like chimpanzees. Okay. Then I already told you this, shorter hands, longer legs. Short hands and longer legs you can mention. Look at this design. Even pelvis design you can notice. They have big pelvis. They don't have a problem. They don't have to go to hospitals for delivering babies, but we have to, right? Because there is more room for them, for baby to come through this inlet, pelvic inlet. They have more, broader pelvic regions where babies can easily be delivered without much complications. We actually, in order to become bipedals, our pelvic structure is redesigned, causing some problem in delivering babies. Okay, otherwise long legs that you see in us and short legs in them. And one more point I want you to put a focus on is angle of this. So we are moving to the bottom of the body now, from pelvic region to the size of the legs and arms, and angle of this. Do you see the same angle? How are these actually, if our femur is placed on top of this joint? Do you see the difference between this and this? Okay, this is highlighted in one of the images here. The thigh bone is at right angles to the knee. Okay, if you see in the gorilla, so we see almost a 90-degree angle in terms of placing there. But whereas we have slightly outward angle. Our legs are slightly placed like this. Our legs are slightly placed. So we are comparing the angle here, slight outward nature. Okay, especially in how this femur bone is sitting on the joint here, whereas their legs are more or less 90-degree angle, in the 90-degree angle to the knee joints. So what is the use of this? When we have this angle, knee is actually put under the body. We actually have, because of this, knees exactly placed under the body. So they can take the body weight better. Pelvic region can take the body weight better, and whole body weight can be distributed equally well onto the feet. And then this angle ensures that it aligns the knees underneath the body very well. That is why we have this outward angle, if you see here, slight shift like this. Okay, the last part that we're going to talk about, how our feet design. How are our feet designed? I was telling you briefly that we don't have opposable toe, but look at them, they have opposable toe. So their legs look more or less like hands. Okay, so there are some differences that you see between the apes' feet and our feet. So we have large heel, whereas they have a smaller heel. I don't know if heel can be seen here, but we have relatively larger heel in us. They have small heel, larger heels, smaller heels in them. And our ankles are adapted for walking. Our ankles are designed in such a way. If you see how we actually walk, we actually put enough pressure. We actually kick like this and walk, right? The way our feet is designed, the angle and the flatness that you normally notice, we actually put enough weight in the body to push us forward. That is not a requirement for them. So we have ankle adapted for walking, and for them, they are still adapted for climbing. Their ankles are made to help in climbing process. And this flat region with little curvature, sometimes you see in the midfoot, is for propulsion, is to push ourselves to forward. We have stiff midfoot for propulsion, whereas they have flexible midfoot. Flexible region they have, we have more firm mid region here, this region, for pushing us forward. And we don't have opposable toe. They have opposable toe. This is grasping big toe. Grasping big toe. They can also use their feet for grasping. So grasping big toe, terrestrial adaptation, sorry, arboreal adaptation, terrestrial adaptation. So toe is in line with the other fingers or other digits. They're in the same line. So it provides us the help while walking. Like that, our feet is also designed differently. So like that, from head to the toe, give differences. Talk about differences that we have between apes and us. And where possible, specifically, I think I should have table for the exam point of view. We want to specifically see the chimpanzees, difference between chimpanzee and gorilla and humans. I'm going to provide you a small table, but this concept is what you need in order to explain. Okay, right. So I'll pause the class here. In tomorrow's session, I'm going to add a few more points. One, brain. I think this is very important. Also, we discuss as part of the factors in human evolution, how our brain has evolved differently from apes. So there I'm going to cover two aspects. One, how our brain is different from ape's brain in terms of few regions in the brain. So that it also becomes a biological factor for our evolution. Okay, we already covered skeletal changes to make us stand and walk on 2 feet. These are also examples that you need to discuss under biological factors in human evolution, but we are comparing it with chimpanzees. Okay, in the next session, I'm going to talk to you about the brain aspect and few modern genes genetically and a chromosomal in terms of cytogenetics and a chromosomal organization. How are we different with apes? I'm going to cover those aspects. Otherwise, major skeletal features that we have covered so far. So today's class, we finished talking about characteristics of primates, primate taxonomy, and primate adaptations we talked about. Okay, also we have something called living primates. The examples we talked in the classification, lemurs, tarsiers. Okay, those are all living primates. Those are all nothing but examples of living primates. In the next category or next unit, we are going to talk about fossils. So what we discussed today and show you examples of those animals, they're all living primates. In the syllabus, I have mentioned briefly to study about living major primates. So what we studied today are nothing but the living major primates. So there's a lot of overlap here again. And we also did comparative anatomy of man and apes. So in the next session, I'm going to add brain and genetics related differences and skeletal changes due to erect posture and its implications. We're going to talk about them. So that will also cover 1.4a. So tomorrow, we are going to wind up talking about this and we'll start with the quaternary fossils, tertiary and quaternary fossils. So we'll start a brief discussion on 1.6 component, introduction to the 1.6 component. So tomorrow, okay?
Sir, can you please view the previous slide?
Previous slide?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes.
Since you have knowledge on this, going through the chapters that I'm going to give you will be very useful to you.
So what kind of diagrams would be useful here?
Like diagrams like this is one, legs for example, and a curvature of the backbone is useful. Skull structure is useful. So majority of the images are opposable thumb, being able to draw opposable thumb or toe in the line of the remaining fingers. Okay, shape of the skull. So let me move the image once she finishes writing it. Simple diagrams. You don't need too complicated diagrams for that. If you can draw a shaped curve, like the shape like this and simple curvature, and how angle is situated here. This image is also easy enough, right? You show the joints here and show the angle to it. Ape legs, like gorilla legs and human legs. And being able to draw. I'm going to show you an image for this. How do you draw those canines that can fit with diastema? Okay, I'm going to show an image, a very simple image in 1.6 to draw this. This curvature, if you can draw, don't have to draw the bones, just the shape. Just draw the shape here. And the specific structure of the This, if you can draw approximately this toe shape in line with the remaining digits versus opposable thumb.
I have tried this.
We have to come a bit closer. Too much light.
Like,
if you want, I'll give you some ideas for drawing this. Okay, I've collected some of those images where.
Yes, sir, please.
I'll give you that.
Yes, sir. Easy versions would be helpful.
Easy. This is
Yes,
for visual, right? This is not for better drawing. So these type of images are easy for drawing. I have collected some of them. I'm going to share the link and images with you. 1.6 where I mostly focus on this part. Okay, canines you can just stick on bigger like a triangle, draw like a triangle, bigger canine. Size is variation is enough. Whereas for humans, show more or less aligns with the other teeth. I'll show the images for you on this. Okay, right. So these are the characteristics I would like to talk today. Tomorrow, behavior also I'm going to discuss it, behavior and remaining differences. So we'll finish 1.5 and begin with 1.6. Yeah, right, guys. I'll share the chapter with you so that you can actually start reading on it. Right. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, sir. Tomorrow, same time?
Same time, yes.